Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has deregistered 74 political parties. The deregistered parties will not take part in future elections in the country. The INEC chairman, Yakubu Mahmoud, who disclosed this at a press briefing on Thursday in Abuja, said that the action is in preparation for the coming 2023 general elections. The decision means that Nigeria now has just 18 political parties. Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, on channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channels, where you can follow us right now on m.channelstv.com. Follow me as well at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation and let's get your thoughts in. The security situation in the country raises more concerns, though, with more developments springing up. The North has come up with its version of a security outfit codenamed Operation Shege Kafasa, which literally means I dare you to ask or you surrender. That's in the Hausa language. Is this, of course, the solution to the wanton killings? Is the North coming to the epicenter of killings, kidnappings and other forms of crime? A view expressed by the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara. What more can the North do to prevent an implosion? It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to State of the Nation. I am Gimba Umar. Let's focus on politics today. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on Thursday deregistered 74 political parties who did not meet the criteria which it set. Now, that has trimmed the number of the parties from 93 to 18 ahead of the 2023 general elections. We have a panel to analyze the actions of INEC and help us understand this very move that it has made. Politicians will be basically part of this. Shinoff Byron is the former presidential candidate of Kowa Party. He joins me here in the studio. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us on State of the Nation. Also, we will have joining us from our Abuja studios, Yunusa Tanko is the former presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party, the NCP, as well as Bishop Amakere is the chairman of Young Progressives Party, YPP. I want to thank you all for coming on State of the Nation. Let me start with you, Tanko. In our Abuja studios. Just yesterday, INEC chairman gave the reasons for deregistering these 74 political parties. One of the reasons he gave is failure of the parties to win at least a contested political office, apart from the failure to meet the constitutional requirements that determine their continuous existence. Analyze this for us, if you will. Does it make sense, in your estimation, your party, NCP, didn't even make that cut?
Thank you very much. Quickly, I'm going to talk on three issues. First of all, let's look at the hasty decision that INEC took. I call it a hasty decision because, one, based on Section 225A of the Constitution, which stipulates that you have to win 25% of the general, maybe in a general election, and win a state assembly or win a state or a local government or a councillorship. Now, yesterday, I was listening to the spokesman of INEC who was giving excuses as regard to meeting up those particular criteria. The last position there was saying that if you do not win a local government elections. Now, he went ahead to defend INEC by saying that INEC used the yardstick of having the election in the Federal Capital Territory. By my own understanding, and the Federal Capital Territory, number one, is not even mentioned in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have 774 local government. And those elections, you are a pressman, you can conduct your own investigative journalism and find out, have not been concluded. Majority of the election is still on. And so INEC took a hasty decision by deregistering the political party for reason best known. Probably there is a court case already being sponsored by these political parties. About 35 of the political parties, including the NCP, were in court. And then the court is supposed to adjudicate on the matter on the 17th of this February. Now, INEC quickly went ahead to deregister the political party before that particular court case. And then thirdly, we are very much aware that INEC has a long list of 100 political associations seeking to be registered. According to law, it says that whether INEC like it or not, if those political parties who had applied have made the condition within 3 months or so, they deem to be registered as political parties. So meaning, what sense does it make when you deregister 74 political parties?
Tanko, if I may just step in here, 74. If I may step in, Tanko, because what INEC is saying and what it bases decisions on is that your party and the 73 other parties failed to meet at least one elective position, and as a result of that, you are not qualified according to the guidelines of INEC. Let me flip this over to
exactly
Mr.
what
Mercury.
I'm telling you.
Hold on.
The process has not been completed.
Let me flip this to Mercury, because your party made this INEC cut. In effect, you're part of the 18 parties that are safe. What does this mean to you as a growing political party, especially along the lines of perhaps mergers, acquisition, if you will? I think that's the term that is used in the financial world, but mergers of a political party. Will anyone thinking along that line be wrong?
Thank you, Gimba Umar. First, let me dedicate this, what I'll call heroism moment, to the founding members of the Young Progressives Party, and by extension, to our candidates, aspirants who actually made this dream a reality. At the moment, Gimba Umar, like I say, it's a wake-up call. We will continue to build on what we have built because indeed, it is not yet time for Uhuru. We still know that there is, in fact, tall mountains to climb and treacherous rivers to cross, especially in this political, environment. What this tells on us is that we just have to redouble our effort to see how we, in the future, we can, of course, produce more representation, either in the National Assembly or even in the executives. And I can assure you that, indeed, this has actually reawakened our spirit, of volunteerism, patriotism, be it
if you will, my apologies. Let me butt in again.
In no distance time.
What I'm trying to find out from you is that now that we've got 74 political parties that are out there, some of them have got magnificent structures in place. What are you doing as a party? Are you going to acquire, are you proposing an acquisition of any of those parties to become bigger?
Absolutely. In politics, there is nothing wrong with realignment and alignment. Of course, you know that there's no tree that can make a forest. And although, let me not quickly begin to, shoot even when it's not even necessary for me to shoot. This 74 that is still lingering, you don't forget that they still have issues in the court. And, and then we will have to wait until let us see what comes after the court ruling. But however, we're already talking to some people who have started calling us that they want to come, to join what we are doing, to strengthen broaden our heroism and see how we can, have a more formidable structure. And I think that we must actually open. I'm very happy that INEC really has expanded the scope of political participation, which is one of the reasons why you see today YPP is having a senator in the National Assembly. If you are talking about 3 political parties today in the Senate, you can only mention APC, PDP, and the Young Progressive Party, YPP. Okay, so if there was no this kind of platform for political party...
While you rain the praises on those 3 parties, let me bring it back to Lagos here with Mr. Fagbemi Byron. Your party, Kowa Party, did not make that INEC list.
We didn't.
What happened?
I think the first thing we should all realize is that INEC does not have a right to deregister any party. INEC has a responsibility to ensure that in the democratic space, that there is proper representation through freedoms of association.
But last time I checked, the National Assembly has given INEC the powers to deregister parties, and it went ahead to do that in 2011 to 2014.
It has a responsibility. That does not digress from what I'm saying. They have a responsibility to see that justice is done. It's not a right. There's a difference between having a right and a responsibility. A responsibility presumes that you have expended that power responsibly. That is, you have done what you ought to have done in order to execute that power. In the case of Kowa Party is 10 years old. We've won elections before. We've won seats before in Bayelsa State. We've won a seat before in Bayelsa State. The fact that people crossed over to other parties, that is not our problem. We also had a seat in the local government in Imo State just about 2 years ago, until the governor decided that he was going to fiddle with the local government elections. So I'm particularly surprised. And then again, you know, just as Yunusa had said there, we are in court. INEC came to inspect offices on the 5th of December. They came to the Kowa office. They saw all the 35 chairmen, and they raised no questions. Now, after doing that verification, you are talking to a party that is 10 years old, that has won elections. The fact that we do not
won
win...
election in the past.
In the past, yes. But who says APC is going to win elections tomorrow? Are you going to subscribe them because they don't, or prescribe them because they don't win tomorrow?
But INEC is using the 2019 general elections to make up its decisions.
That is foul. That is, you are using a short-term measure to determine on a long-term, you know, on a long-term implication. How do you use an instant to decide on what is going to happen for several years? It simply means that they haven't thought anything through. And to be honest, if they disregard the laws and they disregard the courts and they disregard processes like this, and they don't realize and appreciate that before even the Electoral Act has an essence, there is a spirit to the Electoral Act. And it's not just the wordings of it.
So what are you going to do now? Because INEC doesn't recognize your party as part of the parties that you participate in 2023.
It is not whether INEC recognizes them or not. The point is that the party exists, we're in court.
What is next for you?
Well, there's a hearing on the 17th of February. And the members of the party, the executives of the party, the board of trustees of the party are going to challenge that process. But you see what it is happening, it is not for us. Today it is Kowa, tomorrow it is somebody else. Injustice is injustice. It demonstrates very clearly that the independence of INEC is absolutely questionable. Who told them to register 40 parties in one day when they did? Who brought the party registration up to 90? It's not Kowa.
Okay. Mr. Tanko, perhaps you have the answer to that question. But as it stands now, you have a followership across the country, and the perception is that parties not necessarily having a deep purse may not win contested seats in our political evolution. And democratic practice is such that it may we may be shooting ourselves very short in our foot. Is that the case for you?
Look, it's a fact that it's not a perfect situation that even INEC itself performed extremely well. We all condone some of the excesses and the challenges that they had so that we can move ahead in the democratic setting. Look, in this country, we pick and choose the decision we want to take. I give you an example. What happened to a political party who have recently won election, and then within the next day, the person that won election shipped to another political party? We have the same situation in Ekiti. We won an election, and the person decamped to another political party. Now, did INEC, by its own rulings and law, declare those offices vacant? They never did. The situation that's happening in Imo State now is happening. They have not declared the office vacant, thereby denying the growth of those younger political parties. That is unfair, and it's treasonable against the interest of the people. If INEC is running out of money for the election in Edo and Ondo State, they should say so that we can support them to get money. It is better for us to have a good democratic setting. We have always been supporting INEC, but in this case, we will differ. If you don't have enough resources to carry on the election, they should say so before the political party.
About 2 minutes, we'll go on a break. But when we come back, we'll continue along that very heated trajectory, and we'll find out if we can get solutions to these concerns that are being raised by politicians. They're part of my panel today. In just a moment, join us again. 74 political parties have been deregistered by INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, the watchdog in elections in Nigeria. And by far, have been having comments on whether or not it has done the wrong thing or it is doing the right thing. Let's bring it back here in the Lagos studios with Mr. Byron. Now, one wonders the reasons behind establishing a political party, so much so that we have 93 at the end of the day that has been scaled down now to 18. Let me land on this.
Okay.
For instance, a political party could be funded by 2 individuals. That's a given, with no political structure. And you do remember that one big politician in this country, in the person of the former minister for works, yes, that is Mr. Ogunlewe. Yes, at some point on this show, he did say that you don't have money, you don't have a business in politics. Yes. People like that, well, what is the reason for them establishing those small political parties that will, at the end of the day, heat up the political system? Yes,
you see, Chief Ogunlewe's statement is my older brother, but it's a most unfortunate statement. And it's a pathetic statement coming from somebody who is supposed to represent the people. The spirit of political parties vests in the spirit of freedom of association and freedom of expression.
Even if you are 2 people?
My brother, democracy does not mean rulership of the majority. It says rulership of the people, by the people, for the people. The people could be a minority. The minorities are included in the people. If I have an interest, and that interest is sphered within a space that has a commonality, I have a right to be represented. You cannot say because my voice is low, therefore I cannot be heard. It does not make sense. If you can have association, if I can have freedom of association to decide on social, cultural, ethical, economic things, why can't I have freedom of association to decide on political issues?
Do you believe that money in politics is a concern?
Money in politics is a concern, and of course it's a concern, and it is created, it was made so, and when we see where the poverty rates in Nigerians are high, and we interlope that, or we marry that with the fact of the role that money has played, you can see why it pays certain people that Nigerians continue to remain poor.
So what's the solution?
Well, you see, as far as I'm concerned, I think we need a revolution of the mind, a serious revolution of the mind, including people understanding their jobs. The person in the position of INEC should be a respecter of the law, should be a respecter of justice, should be a respecter of social inclusion. When they decided to register 90 parties, people complained, but they decided to go ahead to do it. Now, whoever triggered them to do that, and you see, another thing shows that it's appeared that they are led, they are triggered by pressures, which we don't see. But if you continue to run a system in a manner that does not work or creates unnecessary controversies where it should not, right, it's going to implode. I believe that not all parties should be national parties. They don't have to be national parties. We can have state parties, regional parties. If INEC had an issue in terms of management, just as Yunusa had said, I mean, they should say, look, we can't manage all this because of certain things. I mean, they should call political parties. We consider and think through more effective and efficient and more just ways of including people and at the same time making the process effective and efficient.
Talking about including people, Yunusa, women in politics have expressed this concern on this very subject, which they say has discouraged them from ruling and from running for offices because of financial demands. Buying a ticket can be as much as 10 million naira for some political parties. That's a given. The relationship between money politics and winning political offices is another thing to look at. Do you think that there is a meeting point where money politics and getting participation of women and even the youths in politics, do you think there is a meeting point that we can reach in our political dispensation and democratic emancipation?
Yeah, quickly, before I go into your question, it's good for me to identify truly that do you know that throughout the court processes that INEC did not come to that court, not for once. Not for once did they come, and they have been served. It's very important we make this point because an institution supposed to respect the rule of law has come again now to circumvent the rule of law. The processes have been circumvented by INEC in this process. Then to answer your question, you said the issue of women. definitely there's no, the truth about it is that money play a role, but a negative role, especially the way it's being used at the moment now. It annihilates not only the women, it annihilates the issue, the persons with disability, it annihilates the youth especially. With all due respect to my colleague here, had it been that Ifeanyi Ubah, who has, thank God for his resources, he wouldn't have been able to win that elections. He was a very good man, a capable person, and he was able to display his resources to the interests of the Nigerian people, and he chose a very good political party to use for his own protection. But how many youths in Nigeria have that particular capacity? How many youth can run for that election? So therefore, what we are proposing actually is that we need to go back to the drawing board. There is a Justice Mohammed Uwais report that is gathering dust somewhere, and the legislators refuse to work on that particular Justice Mohammed Uwais report as a way forward. That Uwais report to take care of the issue of political nomadism or prostitution. That same report took care of the inclusion of women, youth, and persons with disability. That same report talked about proportional representation. That same report talked about breaking down INEC into 3 positions, that is the Electoral Commission, denihilation, and then enforcement. Because what we lack here is that we don't enforce law. We are only looking for a quick solution. Where this law did not benefit us, we will look at them then and take a drastic course against it. But if it benefits us, we keep quiet about it. Eventually, later on, it will come to haunt us. So the Hausa man has a proverb, he says, Megine Ramu Mugunta, meaning that you that build a hole for innocent persons, you build it across to very close to your neck. Because one day you will fall into that ditch.
Smiling on stage. I need to be serious about this because this is serious business. But I get exactly what you mean. But let me flip this to Bishop Amakiri. Still looking forward and preferring solutions. What, in your view, must be done in our democratic process and our electoral laws to sanitize the system, be it pre-election qualification and at post-election?
Gimbo Umar, thank you very much. Every time I've appeared in any program, whether on channels or AIT, I maintain my stand that there is a leadership quagmire in Nigeria. And the truth of the matter is that the circumstance we find ourselves at this moment with this crop of leaders. I mean, I'm a leader too, but I'm talking about those who have been given responsibility to man affairs of governance and some other things they need to do. Honestly, I have underperformed. And once there is leadership failure, these things can, there will be a cause for even outlaw. But we don't pray for that. The situation we are finding ourselves today, Nigeria is pregnant. Let me be sincere to you. About 40, 50 million Nigerians that are young people today, if they don't find conducive environment in Nigeria, in this country, my brother, I tell you that the explosion will be even more than Boko Haram. But we don't pray for that. What I'm saying today is, these leaders that have failed, let them just quietly give us way, so that we can just fill in the gap. And then Nigerians are yelling for. I know that there's just so much,
to talk about, but I must sincerely come in at this point to sincerely thank you, all of you, 3 gentlemen and politicians, for coming on the show, State of the Nation. Shina Fabero Byron, of course, the former presidential candidate of Kowa Party. You're still in court, we understand, and perhaps you'll go through with the process.
Deregister parties for violence. They should deregister parties for violence. There is a level of how much they should spend, and they have overspent. They never deregister party for.
Okay, I'll take that as you finish your closing statement, as well as Yunusa Tanko, the former presidential candidate, National Conscience Party, the NCP in our Abuja studios, as well as Bishop Amakiri, the chairman of Young Progressives Party. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us, and to you for being part of the show. Many thanks indeed for watching. I am Gimba Umar. Join us same time next week for a fresh package. Bye for now.